Okay, guys, good morning, everybody. Let's get started with today's topic. A very interesting discussion today. We are going to focus on three things, guys. Okay, our primary topic is working with AWS, and we will be focusing on three things today. First thing is, okay, setting up AWS instance EC2, where our Spring Boot application runs. Spring Boot runs. Second, the MySQL which we will be setting up in AWS that runs in RDS service, some relational database management service. So here we will be running our MySQL DB. And third one is, today we will be even working with secrets manager for storing sensitive data. Okay, so these three things we are going to see practically. If you are interested, yes, go ahead setting up a free tier of AWS and experimenting this. But if you don't want to do that, not a problem. You can just watch the session. From there you can collect the points. And important thing will be, as an intern, people might not really tell you to do this AWS setup or RDS setup. They might just set it up for you and give it to you. Okay. So how to do this EC2 setup? Maybe you will not even get a chance to do in your projects. Similarly for RDS also. However, you need to know how to connect to them, deploy your services there, restart the services there. Similarly, how to connect to RDS and working with RDS. And same goes for secrets manager also. Setting up part might not be required, but using it is going to be required. Okay. So focus on both the things what we are going to do today, setup plus usage part. Okay. So let's get started one by one with our today's topic. So let's put it up into Paintbrush. So we are going to set up our Spring Boot application, let's say processing service, inside EC2 machine. Okay. After that, we will be having RDS database. So all this is part of AWS system itself. So we will have RDS here for connectivity, and we will be having some outside service. Let's say, for example, AWS provided secrets manager service. So our aim will be our Spring Boot application should be able to talk to this RDS for performing database operations, and should be able to work with secrets manager for sensitive information. Okay, so let's just name it secrets manager. This is RDS and this is EC2. EC2, this is processing service. Okay, now how generally will happen is, some of your team members will have access to AWS console. Okay, so let's do that. AWS console. Not everybody. And please know this, okay, even having production access, that is going to be more narrow. Means only one person from the entire technical team might have access to production, and that too, that could be DevOps related guy or some very senior technical person who needs to have access. I'm telling you guys, even as a manager, okay, I will not like to have access to the production system. We need to give access to only those people who really need to have that access, because everything is very secured. Nothing can go wrong in production. What happens is, if let's say a lot of people are having access to something and something goes wrong with that thing in terms of security or anything, then everybody is the suspect, okay, who has done that problem, and everybody gets investigated. Okay, so for example, in production, if something goes wrong in the database, all the members who have access to that system, they're all going to be monitored. Their activities will be checked. Okay, what did they do with the production system in the past maybe few months of time? So it is very risky So unnecessarily, people will not be given access to the production system, that is for sure. Okay, only maybe required by one person, and there will be one backup maybe at the client side who will have it. So like this, only few members will have access to the production system. Remaining will have, if any, access only to the non-prod. Okay, so please be aware. So it's very careful, like to whom we give, to whom we don't. So if people want to do any testing, even working professionals maintain their own AWSs, and in that they try, or somehow they try to get access to the non-production related AWS system and work with that system. Okay, so people do all these options. So, but what is going to happen? You will be logging into AWS console. Let's say your team member logs in into AWS console, sign in. Okay, so some credentials will be given. Okay, next they have this MFA code setting. Okay, so step number one, login into AWS. AWS is a kind of infra where there are so many services. If you want to see, okay, there are so many services, all services. If you do, just see, so many services. Depending upon the need, people use whichever service they want, right? And yes, there is then payment to be done for those services. Next, generally the entire infrastructure is going to be running in some physical part of the world, and that is what is nothing but this region. Okay, AWS is having data centers at different parts of the world, in US in these places, in Asia in these areas, then in Canada, Europe, South America. So they have the data centers. Means what? If we purchase EC2 machine, RDS, and all the secret manager, so behind the screen, AWS is going to have some physical server somewhere where they will allocate space to us. So where is that real data centers, the physical servers? So multiple regions are there. So for the project, one of the region will be picked up, and the region will be the one closest to maximum customers to you. So wherever you are doing business, so whichever country is having more number of customers for your website, the region closest to that will be taken. If you have more business coming from Europe, so then somewhere around here, your data center is going to be chosen. If it is more coming from the Asia or US, so accordingly they will choose it. Okay? And for every region, different level of pricing can also be involved. So just be aware. So you need to be careful where you're doing it. For our testing purpose, we will be setting up in Mumbai related region. So that is the second thing to understand. Okay, so team or client generally informs where data center to choose, but um, client confirms where to have or in which region. Client confirms to pick the region where AWS data center should be allocated. Okay. So as soon as you launch, you will have to pick a region. So let's say AP South 1 Mumbai location. Okay, fine. Next, all our services are available here. We need to work with three services. EC2 is one of the service where we will run our Spring Boot application. Okay, let's do the required setup for EC2. So we will just search for EC2. It comes like this: virtual servers in cloud. We go here. There is something like instances here. we will start creating our first instance. The simple option is launch instances. Okay. Now guys, what happens is, so we have created a Word document which will help in quickly going through all the setup related activity. So these kind of references will speed up the entire time rather than every time searching the web for having the required information. So we will share this document with you as part of today's tasks and other things. Okay. Next, give some logical name to this machine. Okay. Let's say for it now we will call it as Feb 25 server. Okay. Feb 25 server. Next, in production, this EC2 machine should have which operating system? You're trying to get a machine where you will run. So which operating system should be there? Okay, now for multiple projects in production, people are making a decision to use Amazon Linux as the server. Okay, so in interview time, if any discussions are happening around it, so be ready. Amazon Linux is going to be utilized. For many projects, they make this decision. Sometimes they might choose different for different purpose, but you can confidently say we are using Amazon Linux. Okay, so Amazon Linux, this is a Linux OS offered by Amazon. Okay, so this one we are going to use. Now how this happens is multiple images of these OSs are available. If you know basics of operating system, maybe while setting up laptop or something, you would realize from image we can restore the entire operating system, right? Those who have networking and basic OS knowledge, they will definitely know this. From images we do the OS setup and everything. So they have given multiple images option to use for doing the setup. Every image might have some pre-installed softwares also along with it. So we need to choose which one to go for. If you are going to do testing about this, setting up a free tier and doing all this work, so then you can choose this Amazon Linux 2 AMI, okay, which is again part of the free tier itself. So choose this one. Okay, so just that one of the DevOps guys said, yeah, this is a good machine compared to choosing this directly 2023. This one is more latest and it is good in terms of feature capability. Let's choose this. So Amazon Linux 2 image we are going to choose. Okay, so we'll be using Amazon Linux 2 image from where we will set it up. Okay, next, continue with the default architecture. That's okay. Next, again for our testing, how much should be, we are taking a machine, right? So machine is going to have like how much of core and how much of RAM allocation, right? So whenever you take 4 core machine, 16 core machine, 8 core machine, you have to choose the number of cores, processors, and how much RAM you want to allocate. Generally, okay, even for a good project to start in production, people will go for 2 core 4 GB RAM machine. Even for production configuration, this is a good enough size to start with. Okay, but if more and more traffic is coming, very quickly people will double this. Okay, and here are multiple options about how you can choose it. Just observe. AWS provides different machine configurations. This one is, just observe, 1 core 1 GB machine. Next, 2 core T2 medium. So they have given some labeling to these machine names. T2 medium, 2 core 4 GB. Large, 2 core 8 GB. Extra large, 4 CPU 16 GB. 8 CPU 32 GB. So that means it has a lot of potential. Okay, it has a lot of potential. 4 CPU 4 GB into C category. So they have something in T categories, something in C categories, and pricing will be different for them, and performance and all will also be different. So depending upon the need, people choose the machine. Okay, and that's what, as part of DevOps expertise, you need to really have grip about all of these things. Okay. Another tip, as you start gaining experience, like around 4 years plus onwards, so having strong knowledge of AWS is definitely going to be required about all the major services and all. So definitely, along with your backend skills, acquire infrastructure skills also. It will give you more opportunities in your career. Okay, so please plan it like that. But yeah, for now, we are going to choose the free tier related machine itself, one CPU, 1 GB for our today's test related setup. However, like we discussed in production, we'll go with this configuration, and then we can increase this depending upon need of the project. Okay, so that comes choosing the core and the RAM of the machine. For now, we are keeping it this one CPU, 1 GB. Okay, next, key pair. This section talks about how to securely connect to your EC2 machine once it is created. So after that, we will need to have key pair for securely connecting to EC2 machine. Okay, so some kind of commands will be there. We have seen this demonstration in the early days of I think week 1 or sometime itself. So for securely connecting, we need to have a key pair. Okay, how exactly this key pair will be? Just for the first time when you are doing it, you can choose create new key pair option. Okay, continue with the default RSA algorithm, PEM file. Choose the name of the key pair, Feb25 CT key pair. So choose a name. For securely, we will be using RSA. Okay, PEM file will be generated as soon as we do this. Create key pair. So just be aware, we need a key pair setup for securely connecting. It is nothing but a RSA key is going to be available. Okay, so create key pair. Just see in the download section, we will be able to find this. Okay, in the download section. Fine. So for now, we are just putting the name here. This .pem file. So this is the file which we have for securely connecting with our EC2 once it is created. Okay. Okay. And next comes, guys, some basic network settings. Again, as part of AWS, internally there is a lot of like subnet creations, kind of partitions which you create in network. Maybe you want to put all the Java related service in a different network layer and database in a different layer, and decide how to securely connect. So a lot of configurations are possible. So in basics again of networking will be coming, how to have VPCs, virtual private cloud, and subnets. Using this, they will do some setup for that. Okay. Anyways, continue with the default as you are getting started. Again, for DevOps guys and senior members, getting a clarity about the infrastructure networking part will also be required. Again, anyways, for juniors, not required. But just be aware, in AWS, whatever services will keep, generally it runs in a VPC, virtual private cloud, and it might have multiple subnets. Subnets are nothing but some small sections within the network. And you can allow some security terms. Is subnet 1 wanting to connect to subnet 2, how that security aspect should be. You can choose that. Okay, there are multiple existing subnets which will be by default available, and then you will be having the default VPC for you. For now, we are not selecting anything particular. Next, auto assign public IP. If you want to connect to this machine from external world, for that some public IP will be required. So just be aware of that. Okay. So VPC and subnet setting. Okay. More control over configuration. Who can access what? We can achieve that via subnetting and VPC related. So network will have these partitions. Next, have public IP for connecting to this service from outside. So auto assign public IP, yes, enabled. Okay, next again, for connecting the service from outside, we even need the second thing, security group. We will be doing some security group configuration also, but just be aware. Okay, for connecting services from outside, we will need this, and also security group configuration. We will see how to do that, what to do that. Currently continue with the default itself. Don't try to touch anything. We are just walking through it. That's it. Okay, some security group name is going to be available, some description is available. By default, some SSH port 22 is already enabled. Okay, so get some basics of networking itself. When we do these commands, SSH is the command to connect to machine. SCP is the command to copy files to machine. In order to run these two commands, let's say from your local you want to connect to that machine or copy files from local using SCP. In order to do these two actions, it happens on port 22. Port 22 is the default port for these kind of activities. So since we are setting up a EC2 machine and we need to perform these activities, so by default SSH type of port 22 is enabled. Okay, that is what this configuration is. Okay, fine, moving on. Remaining thing, how much disk space you want. You can choose to have some disk space here, 8 GB hard disk size. Okay, so depending upon your needs, anything like is fine. 40 GB, 50 GB, 100 GB. Just make sure that logs doesn't overflow. So you have to think about that daily basis, how much logs will come in production size. We are going to maintain for 7 days of log files. On top of that, how much OS is going to take, and keep some buffer also. So thoda sa considering all these factors, you choose to have some decent hard disk size, which should never become 100%, right? So you will be having those kind of numbers. Team will do some analysis to finalize even that part here. Okay, next. Okay, that's it. So these are the configurations for setting up your EC2, which people need to be aware of. Okay, and just go ahead, launch instance. So you do all this activity and finally you go for launch instance. So generally takes a few seconds. Let's see, we go here. Okay, super. Instance is already in running state. So this is how, again, as part of instances section, whatever new instance you created, it's available here. Okay, now guys, team, everybody clear so far? Give a quick thumbs up. Are we clear with this? Give a quick thumbs up, guys. Okay. Somehow the screen is looking frozen. Okay, guys, but it is good, right? Give a quick thumbs up back again. Hello. Let me stop presenting once. Let's present it again. Yeah. Okay, guys, give a quick thumbs up. Is it clear so far? Okay, nice. Nice. Super, super. Thanks for confirming, team. Thanks for confirming. Chalo, let's go. So, like we said, some senior is going to do the setup, but for you, it's a good to have information, right? It's a good to have information. Okay, chalo, let's continue further. So like this EC2 machine is going to be set up, and on this, now you have to run your Spring Boot application. Okay. Now, let's understand the second thing. Once the machine is set up, team, our next aim is what? We need to run. Once EC2 is set up, we need to run our Spring Boot application here. Spring Boot application. If you remember how we run our Spring Boot application, locally you have your guys, locally we have let's say clean package. This is going to give us some app.jar file. Try to remember this discussion, how to execute it in a AWS style. Locally you will be running clean package. It will give you app.jar. Maven profile concept is also going to come here. You are preparing it for the dev environment. So -p dev. So what your full command in your local will be, step number 1, clean package -p dev. So like this, you will be getting the jar file. Okay, output is going to be the jar file. Step number 2, you copy this jar file into AWS. Copy to AWS. For that, SCP command is going to be utilized. That's the second part. Third part, once your jar file is copied to AWS, you have to execute it. For that, the command is java space -jar, and then you specify your jar file. You do that in a nohub command that we have already seen this earlier. So nohub and then command as a background process, and then @. This is the syntax. So basically, these are our set of actions. You build the archive file. Next, you copy it to AWS. After that, you start the service using this command. Now, you need to understand, this command is nothing but you need Java to be installed in this EC2 machine. Otherwise, you cannot run this command. So what will be our activity? We have EC2 machine with us. Now we have to securely connect to this EC2 machine and install Java 17 on this machine. Then only we can do remaining of the actions. So this is going to be our next steps to do. Okay, chalo, let's go guys. So how do we do all this connectivity and everything? We need Mobaxterm for that. So have the Mobaxterm installed with you. Next, SSH is the command to connect for it. And we will be needing some security key. So let's say here we will add that security key. So whatever we downloaded just now, okay, so that security key we will be taking and applying it into our some location in my local, just arranging it somewhere. Okay, D drive, CT data, AWS, and here specifying the key. So this becomes my file name and the path. Generally, the command to connect to this machine is SSH-I. You need to talk about your PEM file, and then further details about the machine to which you want to connect to. So our PEM file details will be this file, whatever path is available here. So we can take this full path from this place. So we do a machine setup, and this is the command. Okay, so this is the command to connect to that EC2. SSH-I, you need to specify the PEM file. So this is the PEM file, path and the details where it is saved in your machine. Next, whenever you create a EC2 machine, it will have OS user, which is a EC2 user, is going to be available. And then you have to specify @ of public IP of this EC2. So this is the process to go forward with in order to connect. This is a command to connect to this machine. Now, what is the public IP of this? Where we can find? Just click on that instance. So in AWS, under instances section, we just clicked on instance for more details. Here you can see public IP address. So this IP we need to copy in order to connect to this.